For the last 4 years, we have seen the most radical experiment in open borders this nation has ever seen. There are many reasons the American people showed up in overwhelming numbers to vote to re-elect Donald Trump, to elect a Republican majority in the Senate, to re-elect a Republican majority in the House, but there was no reason more front and center than the open borders of the last 4 years.
Tom Homan pictured right there is going to be meeting with the mayor of New York. It's interesting. On Monday night, Tom Homan was at an event, and he revealed, we know that the deportation plan, on a wide scale, you know what American city they're going to start in? They're going to start in Chicago. He was a guest Monday night at a holiday party for Law and Order PAC. This is one of the quotes, according to CBS in Chicago. Tom Homan said, Chicago's in trouble because your mayor sucks and your governor sucks. And so he said it's going to start in Chicago right after the inauguration. And Homan asked the Mayor Johnson, and Governor Pritzker to come to the table and help with the biggest deportation in history. And here's the other quote. He said, if your mayor doesn't want to help, he can step aside. There's Johnson right there. But if he impedes us, Tom Homan said, if he knowingly harbors or conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him. So that's new. Now Tom Homan is suggesting if these people in the sanctuary city do impede the federal government, he's going to press charges.
Well, you can't harbor felons.
No.
You can't. There's already a federal statute. And that's all they're saying right now is that when we come to pick them up, they're already in custody, right, or they're already in a certain community. The residents are upset. Just let us just get out of the way.
Proof from the residents themselves. Listen to them speaking out against their mayor. Watch.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, you took an oath to uphold the Constitution. Or when you took an oath, was it only intended to fight for the 10th and 14th Amendments regarding illegal aliens?
We don't want illegals in our community. We don't want migrants terrorizing our own people. And to have y'all sit up here and say, we have to accept $70 million being given to them when you got black people who are already struggling and need help, it is a disgrace.
All people. And that, by the way, we could have played 12 of these.
Yeah. No.
So the people agree with Tom.
Well, and you could see in that wide shot, you could see that some people were wearing, you could see red shirts. You know what the red shirt said? Chicago flips red. So essentially, he's getting in. Let me just finish this up. So essentially, those people who are showing up are suggesting, okay, you don't listen to me. Just remember, politics have consequences, and we could flip this town red, which would be rare.
I'm so glad this is their message, finally, because you've been to Chicago how many times?
I mean,
Gianno Caldwell's brother was killed there, and it's very dangerous already. The money needs to go to the residents. It doesn't need to go to the illegals.
Well, Ainsley, and when I was there a few months ago, they're showing this now. We're showing this now, but we covered this leading up to the election.
Yeah.
They have shut down schools of kids in the community. They said they didn't have any money for it. And then they reopened them.
To shut them down?
Well, they shut them down because the city said, here's the airport. They said, we don't have any money to fund this school or this community center. But then they reopened them, found the money magically for the illegals there.
Yeah.
Y'all remember when I was in there as well? I was outside of one of the holding facilities. There's drug bags all outside of the place where they clearly have some type of illegal substance there. And the residents have been crying out for help for a long time, and the mayor is still giving a backhand.
I know. Why is the mayor doing that? He's not listening to the people.
But you know what's interesting is that the people he thinks he's representing, he doesn't understand. He's going by an old playbook. He thinks that if I go to the bat for inner city America or for minorities in my city, I'm going to make the hard decision against the law enforcement. But law enforcement and his people actually agree he's the impediment.
Yes.
So is the Denver mayor the impediment.
Yeah.
Denver is falling apart, crushing on its own weight. Per capita, more illegals, more immigrants than even New York City. And all this mayor cares about, I'm gonna fight for my people. Do you understand that your people are asking you to get out of the way?
And he once agreed. Yeah. He told us in an interview that they're at their breaking point. Magically, when Donald Trump is elected, then he turns back to the same old thing. Yeah. So you can't just resist because it's Trump. You got to do what your people are asking you to do.
And the Chicago people are simply saying, look, you're spending too much money on the migrants. And you know what? You know what I think the people of Chicago would like? a Department of Government Efficiency.
How long is
they
he-
need a Doge in
Do
Chicago?
you all know how long he's in office?
Well, he just
I know
got
he's
there.
like
got
a
3
year
more
ago?
years left. He's like a year, 2.5 years, I would say. I'd say also they are in the
They got to
red.
get it right. They
Yeah.
got
In
to
the
get
red.
it right in Chicago.
right thing.
They continue to elect these individuals that,
And that's
that
why
aren't common sense.
And that's why Tom Homan is starting in Chicago.
The crazy
Good.
thing is he was second and they had the runoff and he ends up winning because he
But
consolidated with the left
Chicago
wingers.
reminds me of New York. Remember, they were great cities, great cities. I still love New York. Y'all know I love New York, but it's different.
For the last 4 years, we have seen the most radical experiment in open borders this nation has ever seen. There are many reasons the American people showed up in overwhelming numbers to vote to re-elect Donald Trump, to elect a Republican majority in the Senate, to re-elect a Republican majority in the House, but there was no reason more front and center than the open borders of the last 4 years. And I have to say, I think there were a number of us wondering, did any of the Democrats in Congress learn anything from the election? And the existence of this hearing makes very clear the answer is no. We've seen 12 million people come into this country illegally under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. My home state of Texas has seen more than any state in the country. There is a reason that the Rio Grande Valley, which has been Democrat for over 100 years, flipped red this election. Because when your home is invaded by more than 12 million people, it changes your voting patterns. Every single day, we have seen Americans murdered. We have seen women raped. We have seen children brutalized by criminal illegal aliens released deliberately by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The numbers are staggering. According to ICE, as of July 21st, 2024, nearly 650,000 criminal illegal aliens were currently on ICE's non-detained docket, which means they've been released. They're wandering around, they're free. And of those 650,000, 14,944 have been convicted of homicide. You want to know what mass deportation is? Those 14,944 better pack their bags right now. Because with a new administration, we're going to show up, we're going to arrest you, and we are going to deport you. 20,061 have been convicted of sexual assault. Now, I want you to ask of my Democrat colleagues, and it is striking that virtually none of them are here. That is reflected in their conduct because they are silent and putting their head in the sand as to the human tragedies. But what resident of what blue state says, you know what, America's better off with 20,000 rapists being released into this country? 105,146 have been convicted of assault. I would ask my Democrat colleagues if they were here, why the hell today does the Biden administration not go and arrest every one of these criminals and deport them? What rational world says America's better off with more criminals? And these are not just statistics. Ms. Moran, thank you for being here. The country grieves the loss of your daughter. Your daughter was beautiful. She was a mom who I know loved her kids. And she's not with us today. She was raped and murdered because this administration chose to release a violent criminal into America. Your daughter should still be alive. And every one of these victims should still be alive. Laken Riley, a name that the Democrats on this committee can't bring themselves to utter, should still be alive. And in my hometown of Houston, Jocelyn Nungry, I've gotten to know Jocelyn's mother, Alexis, very well. Ms. Moran, like you, Alexis is incredibly brave. I cannot imagine the pain. I'm a father. To lose your child, no parent should have to bury their child. Children should bury their parents, not the other way around. It is wrong what happened to you. But I want to say to you, thank you for having the courage to tell Rachel's story. I would understand if you just curled up in a ball and cried. But, and I'm sure you have wept a lot of tears. But thank you for having the courage to tell Rachel's story. And I want to say, if there is anything that is a mandate from this election, it is to end this insanity, stop these murders, stop these rapes, stop these assaults, protect our citizens. And Ms. Moran, I just want to give you the opportunity at the end of my questioning to share from your perspective why this matters, why we should stop releasing criminals into America.
In order to prepare for this hearing, I was actually looking at statistics over the last couple of days. And most of the rape and murder statistics by illegal immigrants are actually against children.
Yeah.
And to me, that's astounding. I don't know how many people here have children or grandchildren, but can you imagine your 7, 8, 9-year-old daughter being forcibly raped by a stranger, sometimes multiple times? This is the culture, and I realize it's not all immigrants, but this is the culture that they come from, this kind of violence. They grow up in it in their countries. To them, it's just part of what they've known for their lives. But to bring that criminal culture into America, it's destroying our families.